You think too much.
Huh?
It's too far. I think it's too personal. Don would consider this all.
I'm gonna kill all those guys.
Hey, stay out of it, Mickey. Do me a favor.
Solozzo's the key. You get rid of him, everything falls into line. Now, what about Lucas? Solozzo didn't seem worried about Lucas.
I know if Lucas sold out, we're in a lot of trouble, believe me. A lot of trouble.
Has anyone been able to get in touch with Luca?
I've been trying all night. He might be shacked up.
Hey, Mickey, do me a favor.
He never
Try
sleeps
me
over with the broad. He always goes home when he's through.
What? Welcome.
Your consigliere.
And what do we do if the old man dies? God forbid.
If we lose the old man, we lose our political contacts and half our strength. The other New York families might wind up supporting Sollozzo just to avoid a long, destructive war. This is almost 1946. Nobody wants bloodshed anymore. If your father dies, you make the deal, Sonny.
You know, that's easy for you to say, Tom. He's not your father.
I was as much a son to him as you or Mike.
What is it?
Hey, Paulie, I thought I told you to stay put.
Well, the guy at the gates, they said they got a package.
Yeah? Oh, hey, Tess, you go see what it is.
You want me to hang around?
Yeah, hang around. You all right?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Some food in the icebox. You hungry or anything?
No, it's all right,
How
thanks.
about a drink? Have a little brandy. That's good to sweat
Yeah.
it out. Huh?
All right, sure.
Go ahead, babe.
That might be a good idea.
Yeah, right. I want you to take care of that son of a bitch right away.
Paulie sold out the old man, that Strutz.
I don't want to see him again. Make that first thing on your list, understand?
Understood.
Hey, Mickey, tomorrow, you get a couple of guys, you go over to Lucas' apartment, hang around, wait for him to show up.
Maybe we shouldn't get Mike mixed up in this too directly.
Listen, hang around the house on the phone and be a big help, huh? Try Luca again. Go ahead. What the hell is this?
That's a Sicilian message. That means Luca Brasi sleeps with the fishes.
She's from State College, Pennsylvania. This is your first presidential election that you're voting.
Yes.
Hi, Mika. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm the proud mom of two girls, 8 and 10. My youngest daughter is transgender. The Trump administration has attacked the rights of transgender people, banning them from military service, weakening non-discrimination protections, and even removing the word transgender from some government websites. How will you, as president, reverse this dangerous and discriminatory agenda and ensure that the lives and rights of LGBTQ people are protected under US law?
I will flat out just change the law. Eliminate those executive orders, number one. You may recall, I'm the guy who said, I was raised by a man who, I remember I was being dropped off. My dad was a high school educated, well-read man who was a really decent guy, and I was being dropped off to get an application in the center of our city, Wilmington, Delaware, the corporate capital of the world at the time. And these two men, I'm getting out to get an application to be a lifeguard in the African-American community because there was a big swimming pool complex. And these two men, well-dressed, leaned up and hugged one another and kissed one another. And I'm getting out of the car at the light, and I turned to my dad. My dad looked at me and said, Joey, it's simple. They love each other. The idea that an 8-year-old child or a 10-year-old child decides, you know, I decided I want to be transgender. That's what I think I'd like to be. It'll make my life a lot easier. There should be zero discrimination. And what's happening is too many transgender women of color are being murdered. They're being murdered. I mean, I think it's up to now 17. Don't hold me to that number, but it's higher now.
Yeah.
And that's just this year. And so I promise you There is no reason to suggest that there should be any right denied your daughter or daughters, whichever, if one or two, your daughter, that your other daughter has a right to be and do. None, zero. And by the way, my son Beau passed away, was the Attorney General of the state of Delaware. He was the guy who got the first transgender law passed in the state of Delaware, and because of a young man who became a woman who worked for him in the Attorney General's office.
And just 40% of Americans say they would definitely agree to take a coronavirus vaccine if it was approved by the government. What steps would you take to give Americans confidence in a vaccine if it were approved?
Make sure it's totally transparent. Have the scientists of the world see it, know it, look at it, go through all the processes. And by the way, this is the same fellow who told you this is going to end by Easter last time. This is the same fellow who told you that, don't worry, we're going to end this by the summer. We're about to go into a dark winter. A dark winter.
47 years, Sleepy Joe Biden betrayed Hispanic Americans. I'm not going to let you meet him, champ. You make it angry. That'll be 1/10 of 1 second.
Here in New York City and elsewhere around the country, there is a concern that the tensions are rising to the point where a lot of people feel unsafe. Police in Graham, North Carolina, using pepper spray on what was said to be peaceful demonstrators who had marched to the polls. To Beverly Hills over the weekend, about 4,000 pro-Trump supporters gathered to rally in support of the president. Anti-Trump demonstrators showed up and they clashed. Back here in the tri-state, there were caravans of pro-Trump supporters who actually blocked major thoroughfares, bridges, stopping people from getting into New York City at one point. The backup was in one area more than 5 miles.
And across the United States, businesses boarding up their windows, their doors, and taking other security measures in anticipation and fear of possible election unrest. Authorities are expected to be putting back into place a non-scalable fence around the White House.
about his inauguration crowd being smaller than mine. It really bugs him. He's still talking about that. Does he have nothing better to worry about? Did no one come to his birthday party when he was a kid? Was he traumatized? What's with crowds? Well, you know, I've had crowds before, you know. Had quite a few. But you know, when a country's going through a pandemic, that's not what you're supposed to be worrying about. And that's the difference between Joe Biden and Trump right there. Trump cares about feeding his ego. Joe cares about keeping you and your family safe. And he's less interested in feeding his ego with having big crowds than he is making sure he's not going around making more and more people sick. That's what you should expect from a president.
By the way, guys, nothing artificial about if we don't win, if you don't win, you got a problem. If you win, we win, their future. Right? You realize 54% of the American people think their children will never reach the standard of living they've reached. That's never happened before. 54%. And you guys can sit in the edge or what? I don't want you to have to stand all along, but it's up to. By the way, he gave me permission to touch him. All right? Why don't you sit in the room like that? Sit right here. I don't want you to have to stand. I'm sorry it takes so long, guys, but everyone knows I like kids better than people. To go into a dark winter.
What I tried to do before we left the White House was make sure that we facilitated a good transition. That meant preparing a whole bunch of instruction manuals based on the experience that we had had. One of the things we did was a playbook for early response to high consequence emerging infectious disease threats and biological incidents.
Spot a zombie. Look for someone who has a corpse-like appearance, exhibits aggressive behavior, craves human flesh, and utters incoherent moans and groans.
I don't know.
With your help, we can prevent the zombie uprising.